everyone. Welcome back to the SMITE Pro League, powered by our good friends over at Alienware. If you haven't already had an opportunity to check out all the great things that Alienware has to offer for you, make sure that you go over to smitegame.com/Alienware. Use code AWSMITE09. You can see all the great discounts that Alienware has to offer to you on the Aurora Ryzen 10 desktop. If you want to check out the laptops that we even get to use here on the desk, or just the machines that our players are using here, not only in the studio, but in the comfort of their own home as well. Make sure you go over to that website. Thank you so much to Alienware for powering our players and our production in Season 9 of the SMITE Pro League. My name is J Mac Tucker. I got Trelly Relly joining me on the desk. We jump into our second set of the day. Atlantis Leviathans and Oni Warriors. Had a little bit of fun in our first set, but just based on the rumblings I've been hearing from the guys in the Oni Warriors, the set still has a little bit on the line, at least for these guys, for a little bit of extra seeding.
And that's the thing. I know we were talking about a bit on the desk before. No one likes to lose, right? So if the plan is to just come in here and give it your all, I'm not going to shame you for that one. But also, we're having a little fun towards the end of the phase. The Oni Warriors, though, it sounds like, they wouldn't mind jumping up an extra place in the standings, and they're up against the Leviathans, so certainly not going to be easy.
Yeah, I believe 2 more sets, if I'm not mistaken, for the Oni Warriors. We will get to take a look at the schedule to see what's left for today. That's just this set, and then also what's available tomorrow for the Oni Warriors as we take a look at that schedule there. First set of the day done. Olympus Bolts get their 2 over the Jade Dragons. Nice win for those guys at the end of the season, having a little bit of fun between them. Now, Oni Warriors, Atlantis Leviathans. The Warriors play again tomorrow. That's up against the Solar Scarab, Stardust Titans, Camelot Kings, and Valhalla Valkyries, Olympus Bolts to round out our Sunday. So for the Warriors, if I'm not mistaken, they just need to win 1 of their 2 matchups, and I think also pray maybe on the downfall of the Tartarus Titans to maybe jump up a spot or at least be able to maintain that 5th over the Olympus Bolts there. Because got to remember, every time the Warriors have faced off against the Bolts, it's been a win for the Olympus Bolts. If the Oni Warriors can find that win and at least guarantee to keep themselves away from potentially falling down, could be at least what's on the eye of the Oni Warriors, Charlie.
Yeah, I imagine so, right? I mean, like I said, no one wants to come in here, the studio, and lose at that point, so probably wanting to at least find another dub and jump up in the standings. You said it sounds so mean, prey on the downfall, but you also
it really does.
Yeah, you gotta hope that the other team's gonna lose as well, right? If you're trying to climb the standings, it's not gonna be, we're quite literally preying on their downfall, but you can hope for the Tartarus Titans to lose as well, especially if you're a fan of the Oni Warriors.
Yeah, the Oni Warriors, I believe if they can win both of theirs out, might have a chance to jump over the Tartarus Titans in standings, but more than anything, trying to find the win so they don't fall down into 6th seed compared to the Olympus Bolts, who got their win up against this. The Olympus Bolts do play a game again tomorrow, so a chance for them to maybe jump up again if the Oni Warriors don't win out on this one, don't win out on theirs tomorrow. But the Oni Warriors, if they can at least get a good start up against the Atlantis Leviathans, could be a good thing here. And for the Oni Warriors, we've actually got one of them standing by, Neilma, standing by with Dave for our pregame interview.
That's right. I've got Neilma alongside me, and Neil, you guys still have some stuff to fight for towards the end of the phase here. Technically can swap around with the Titans. Technically can swap around with the Bolts after the result of our first set. Added pressure this time of the year. Is that something you feel like you and the rest of your team deal with pretty effectively? Do you feel like there is a lot of added pressure, or standard games of SMITE for you guys?
I mean, at the end of the year, everything matters more. It's impossible to say there's not more pressure, but I don't think it really factors in too much. I know at the end of the day, you kind of have to come in and beat every team to be the best. You could get first round at Worlds or lose in the semis. There's not a whole lot of difference to a lot of players competitively. It's kind of all or nothing, right? So at the end of the year, it's just about just come in and try and be the best team. You have to beat everybody. So work on yourself and go from there.
Well, and look, the Leviathans, they were on a ridiculous win streak. You guys were the only team who beat them earlier on this phase. They ran through the rest of the league for a little while. Finally lost last week to the Kings. Is there anything you could take away from a set like that? You watch back the Kings and the Leviathan set and see anything that the Kings did well that you feel like you might be able to take advantage of?
I mean, there's always things you can take from every set for the most part. Maybe not the one before ours, but I mean, the Levi's at the end of the day, sometimes they play really, really well, and sometimes they just kind of scrap a bit. So it's hard to tell what kind of team you're going to get. But they're just a really good team all in all, and you're always going to have to respect them and come ready.
What do you think your strength is as a team, Neilma? The Oni Warriors, such a fun squad to look at and really break down. You guys have gone on some great streaks, some good winning going on this phase. What do you think makes the Oni Warriors such a good team?
I think that we have a lot of individual talent, and our God pools are really unique in terms of just what other teams play. I think we play a little bit differently than everyone too, so that throws people off. And on top of that, I think that we're just together. We can play really well together when we're all firing on all cylinders. It's just about kind of just making sure we don't make errors at really critical moments has kind of been our Achilles heel. So I think that we just play pretty solid start to finish, though, and we never really have like a bad showing for the most part.
Final question. Step up, 18th hole, par 4. We're down 1 hole to Snoopy and Ryan. You want me to go first with the iron, or are you wailing away with the driver right away?
I mean, I trust you through and through. I mean, you got it locked. I don't even need to shoot after you.
You're telling me you're a team leader, a shot caller with decisions like that, Neil?
I mean, if you don't trust in your team, I mean, it's a team game. That's right. It's a team game, so you got to trust in your team. At the end of the day, you win and lose as a team.
This guy's just too good at what he does, besides trusting me on the tee box with an iron. Unsure. Thanks for your time. Best of luck in your set. We'll go back to the desk to get this one started.
Thank you so much. Kind of the takeaway from there, Neil trusting a lot of people, trusting Dave to pull it at the end on the course, but also trusting in his team to be able to bring it together whenever the time does get, whenever it really does get to breakdown moment. Also notable, the only thing that the Only Warriors have over every other team in the league is they're the only team that hasn't made a roster change since franchising out there for the Only Warriors. But they're going up against the Atlantis Leviathans, former world championship team, still the reigning world champs out there, have made one adjustment, at least into their roster, bringing Haddix over here into the solo lane. He's been a very pivotal player for this team. This Cthulhu game that he keeps bringing out there feels near undefeated, but has taken a couple losses there. And I think this is kind of really the time of the year where we always see the Leviathans and teams like this really ramp up. They have their slower starts, but they end up coming always back at the very end to bring it back together.
I just love that highlight of Zap stealing gold because
Yeah.
he died after in that game in particular. He was getting camped over in that lane.
It's like 0-7.
Yeah, wasn't having a great time, but hey, the Leviathans, they pull through, and that's what you got to count on as well. I think, taking from that interview, Neil says, and I tend to agree, the Leviathans either play the map perfectly or they're just kind of scrapping, and you got to depend on which team shows up. But when the Leviathans are playing the map perfectly, they're so scary, man. I mean, Panatom being able to control the entire map through the jungle. Zapman always able to come online. In this clip, he was 2-9 at the beginning, and that's the thing. You leave him on an island, you lead him over there on his own lane for a bit. Maybe he'll get camped, maybe he'll get dived, but when he rotates in 30 minutes in, he'll do ADC things, and that's exactly what you want from your ADC. And I think the team as a whole, they believe in each other, right? They're able to say, okay, Shinto's going to be able to get the farm. We know he's going to be able to do his job late game. Panatom's running the map. Haddix, this new ad, who isn't even that new at this point, but it's still been consistently popping off in the solo lane. You can look to every individual role and just know that you're going to be getting that back up.
Now, not a lot at stake for the Leviathans. They've guaranteed themselves the first seeds position. Nobody's going to be able to knock them out of there. Only Warriors can maybe try and get a win again to either bump themselves up in standing or at least solidify that 5th seed that they're currently sitting at right over the Olympus Bolt. So the Leviathans maybe taking it a little bit easy, kind of like they did yesterday. We saw the Chronos come out twice for Shinto over in the mid lane. Was able to do some really big damage numbers. I mean, at one point he nearly 2-shot Captain Twig with a polyauto and a time rift after.
Yeah, I don't know if that was taking it easy. Like, the Chronos got buffed. I think they were just testing it out, and turns out, one game it worked, one game it didn't work so much. But it still, as you said, did the one-shot damage. So Chronos could be something they're looking towards. So when we get into picks and bans, stuff like that.
Do you think the Zygen is taking it easy? Is that when we know the Leviathans are now taking it easy, is when they bring out Zapman's Raijin?
I can go on record right now to say,
okay,
whenever I see the Zygen, that game better not matter, because it's not even because of Zap. It's just Raijin, unfortunately, not in a good spot at the moment, and especially putting him over in duo lane just doesn't. I'm not seeing the value. And Zap also after that match tweeted like, hey, maybe no more Zygen. So I'm not seeing it, and I hope that we don't see it here today.
He said that after a match, but then in an interview he was like, yeah, man, I want to bring the Zygen back. I want to reprise. I want to show that it's still good. But my question when it comes down to there is, why would you give it to Zap, man, when Shinto had like a 24 games that he played it or something like that in the season before and went like 22 for 24 on that pick?
Well, I can easily answer that one for you because it's not a hunter. It's Zap, man, and he's going to say, oh, well, I'm popping off on the Zygen. Hunters are bad. Or, sorry that I was feeding. All the other roles were so powerful, and that's why I went so poorly. So, just because Shinto has a sick Raijin doesn't mean the Zygen doesn't also want to come out. It's just not what I want to see.
Yeah, the Zygen is the thing. He wants that, not because, again, Raijin's good or not. He just wants to have a little bit of fun maybe on that pick over there we'll have to see what the Leviathans end up going with their draft. Again, not a whole lot at stake for these guys here. Guaranteed number 1. Could just be trying a couple of things out, seeing, what's working, test the waters a little bit. Oni Warriors, again, they definitely want to be able to find themselves a win if they can today to try and solidify their spot in that 5th seed, not fall down below the Olympus Bolts. But the good news for the Warriors, even if they do lose the set today, they still have one tomorrow against the Solar Scarabs, though. The Scarabs have been looking a little bit better now with their roster change-ups. Hurrywin Snoopy joining over onto that team, as well as kind of shaking things up. Netroid now the newest addition with the Scarabs there, so could be at least a good matchup for the Warriors, not just today, but also tomorrow to keep fighting up for that standings.
It looks like Shinto's taking a nap, man. He's got his head down here. Maybe that's how he gets in the...
Can somebody check on him, make sure he's okay?
I saw him chewing. He's got gum. So at the very least, he's in the zone. Maybe that's his pre-game ritual. He's getting locked in. He's saying, all right, every Vulcan ult is going to hit from now on. I'm getting locked in, making sure that all my mage abilities are going to be on point, or whatever he decides to play.
That is me after I eat a heavy dinner, and I'm just like at my computer watching like a YouTube video or like a Twitch stream, and I'm just sitting there going, and all of a sudden I am head down on the desk, waking up like an hour and a half later from a heavy nap. That's me there.
It does. Nothing hits like the post game.
You can see him on his own camera.
What do you mean? He's right there. He's getting locked in. That's what I'm talking about.
The monitor actually perfectly blocks him. You cannot see him whatsoever.
And this is what I want to zero in on here. This is what Shinto does before he makes the plays we're about to see. So there we go. He's locked in. The pre-game's done. He's letting everyone know he's all right. And then it comes through. I mean, he's going to be popping off, and you just come to expect that from the Leviathans mid laner.
You think one of his teammates was sitting there watching the stream going, Shinto, quick, the camera's on you.
They're watching you.
They're watching you, Shinto, quick, show that you're still okay.
They know you're taking a nap here on the Oni Warriors. That's how confident he was. And now they're going to be able to, get locked in. And that's all it takes, right? A little shut-eye, and then boom, you're ready to go.
Now, I will say the second game yesterday between the Atlantis Leviathans and the Camelot Kings, that was a jungle showdown between Panatom and Captain Twig in that matchup. Panatom gets that signature pick of that Susano once again. And I'd be surprised to see if maybe the Oni Warriors even let that pick go through, because Panatom's been performing really well on that god. Whether that was during the Beads interaction, the Beads Aegis interaction meta that we had a little while ago, or just in general. We are ready to go though with the picks and bans for game number 1 between the Leviathans and the Oni Warriors. It will be Leviathans in that first pick slot. Again, a little bit on the line for the Warriors. Again, everybody's seeding has at least been locked. So everybody is in their top 6 versus bottom 2. For the Oni Warriors wanted to make sure they can at least maintain that 5th seed spot over the Olympus Bolts. Maybe have a chance to jump into 4th seed if they can do so. The Leviathans are going to take away something that really only the Warriors are still running right now, which is this AMC.
Yeah, that's true. I was expecting to see a little bit more fall off from the AMC, and by that I mean like completely. And same with the Morgan, but the Oni Warriors are the only two that are trying to keep these picks alive. I mean, Dardez loves both of them. Despite the nerfs they received, Dardez is still going to him, and unfortunately, he's still making them look good. So I guess we're going to have to keep seeing the Morgan and the AMC ban. But Daji, that's something that you got to take away from Cuvo Fred whenever possible. So that's going to be a smart call here. But from the Oni Warriors, Shinto not getting to play that Vulcan. And of course, Haddix on his famous Cthulhu, or infamous, whichever you want to call it. We don't want him to have it. And it looks like the Oni Warriors agree. They're going to take that one away, which just means that maybe some more flexibility there in the solo lane. Usually Haddix has been going to something like the Horus when this is banned away, but he's got plenty of different options, and let's be honest, he's just a one-trick King Arthur. That's what Haddix has been going to as well.
One-trick King Arthur? I thought that was fine okay for the longest time.
I mean, I think he's got, 17% of his games are King Arthur, and the closest to that is Cthulhu at 9, so it's...
You know what? He's a one-trick King Arthur.
The stats back it up regardless.
You know what? Fair enough.
Yep.
Haddix a one-trick King Arthur. For now, no King Arthur will be Naja for the Atlantis Leviathans. Option now goes over to the Oni Warriors. Pick of the litter available. I mean, top support banned away, top solo laner for the Leviathans banned out with that Cthulhu. And it will be Ishtar as a first god selection for the Oni Warriors. Make sure to get something comfortable for vote over in that duo lane. And this Ishtar is something when we came into the phase, Ishtar was available right around the, I think it was the Leviathans Invitational. This guy became available. We were asking some of the pros, like, hey, where do you think Ishtar is going to kind of land in the tiers? And most of them were saying kind of middle of the pack. Probably wouldn't see too many top 3s. A couple of buffs come this god's way, and all of a sudden we were seeing first pick priority towards this god, Trelly.
Yeah, I think Ishtar just brings a ton of that wave clear as well as a solid team fight ultimate. So as long as you're able to get pressure early, that's usually what most of the duo lanes are valuing at the moment, is just who can clear the wave better. And we are going to see the Kumba lock in here.
Okay.
I'm excited. You know what? I won't lie. I've been playing a little bit of Kumba myself, and I think if you got the follow-up for it, he can be all right. It's just he lacks a bit of damage, but overwhelming amounts of CC, as well as into a double hunter composition. That attack speed slow can be pretty potent as long as you're able to get in there. But depends on what role it is, right? I mean, you assume going over to support, but honestly, Kumba can go anywhere. He's an assassin.
Oh, anywhere.
Oh, anywhere.
Any role. You think maybe Zapman takes the Kumba then?
The Zumba.
The Zumba Zarna.
Yeah, you know what? If we see the full damage Zumba Zarna, I would be a little bit confused, but he can full clear the wave.
Now, when you play Kumba, are you a Bobble Kumba player, get the 50% CDR and be even more annoying than he already is? Like, are you a full cooldown Kumba Karna player?
I can tell you that I purchased Bobble once, and that was before the buffs, and I still have not purchased it yet. So no, I do go full cooldown, but I do not count Bobble as full cooldown.
Hey man, extra 10% CDR never ends up hurting.
No, you're not wrong.
Fafnir with the double hunter comp that you were talking about earlier, that's going to make these objectives dangerously quick for the Oni Warriors. A couple of hunter bands, Cupid and Magical Hunter Freya, taken off the table by the Warriors. It'll be Mercury and Amaterasu on the other side for the Leviathans. And that opens up a Thor for Cuvo Fred in the jungle.
Yeah, the Thor is going to bring a lot of global team fight pressure, especially when you're up against something like the Gilgamesh. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out where all these picks are going at the moment, so I need to see the rest of the draft before I'm, zeroed in on something. But with the Nuwa, that helps out a bit. That not too much though, because I saw Zap was very jealous when Panda Cat played the Nuwa in the SPL, so maybe this is him trying to live through that and say, hey, maybe I can go. And look, yeah, we got the double made, so it looks like probably Zap on the Nuwa if they lock it in. Oh, he baited us, man. He would. They have a ton of CC, though. I think Artemis actually works out really well with the Kumba because you got locked down for the trap, and then if the beads go down, you just have so much follow-up for it.
There's a lot of damage for the Scylla to be had, at least for Shinto over in the mid lane. Artemis for Zapman. Now it makes you wonder which of these three picks on the top side for Leviathans is going solo, which one is going jungle, and I dare ask maybe even which one is going support in this case, because down the SCC we have seen things like Gilgamesh support pop up a couple of times. Kumba Karn has been seen solo lane for the EU SCC. There was a brief meta where that was popping up when Mogao was kind of running the show over in the solo lane. And this Naja, most likely, at least as of recent, has been into the jungle, so maybe we see that one go to support role. I'm going to leave it up to your brain here, though, Trelly. Where do you see this draft of the Leviathans kind of laning out?
Unfortunately, in my head, I'm assuming it would be the only two roles that... I think Gilgamesh is going to Pantom, and then I think Shinto on the Scylla and Zap on the Artemis. But the Naja and the Kumba could switch around. I think Haddix could definitely take it into the solo lane. I won't lie. I've got some tech here. I saw him play it on his stream. Ooh. But it was not a tanky Kumba Karna. It was very damagey. So if he does go that and Wrong Yu takes the Naja support, wouldn't hate it. They've got plenty of setup and just lockdown for this ultimate from Scylla. So if that's the case, I wouldn't hate it, but I think more often than not, you're switching that one up. Of course, the Gilgamesh could also, but because Pantom's so good on it, and he just got his skin, the Leviathan Gilgamesh skin,
he did.
I'm assuming Pantom's taking it, then you can just let Wrong Yu and Haddix switch around in that regard. But they're going up against an unfortunate matchup because the Fafnir breath just makes Sleepy Time passive just non-existent. It doesn't matter at all.
Now, I wonder if that was picked. Obviously, the double hunter makes it very enticing to pick up a Fafnir to begin with.
Yep.
You wonder if maybe that was kind of the counter thought there was the Dragon Fafnir stance, able to just completely shred through that passive there. Now, I'll pose a second question to you. Double hunter, we've seen Ishtar and Cernos go both directions, whether that be mid or ADC. I'm not going to make a guess there. Would you rather see this Raven in the jungle for Cuvo Fred, or would you rather see the Thor go to jungle for him?
I would prefer the Thor in the jungle just because I think the Raven has to build a bit tanky in this sense to actually have some success in this matchup. Because if you're just getting blown up off the Kumba ult or off the Naja ult, it doesn't matter if you have overhead kick. You're dying on landing. You don't even have time. If you time the ultimate right, which we're going to assume that Zap and Shinto can, you're not even going to have time to really live through that. So I think the Raven probably wants to build a bit tankier in this end. So if Nika takes that, you're going to be able to build that hybrid style of Raven build and still dive effectively. Whereas the Thor, you just build full damage, man. Your Anvil of Dawn, you're trying to 100 to 0 before these carries even get a chance to react.
Yeah, maybe give your carries a chance to go for some of these objectives as well. Double Hunter plus Fafnir, even some of the auto attack damage that can come from Thor and Raven once the late game starts going through could prove pretty fruitful around some of these objectives. And we know when these Fafnirs do get drafted up, that's typically the name of the game for the Oni Warriors. Do you think the Leviathans have a composition, as strange as it may seem for a couple of these picks, you have to think a comp that can maybe line up toe-to-toe late game with the Warriors?
Oh, I'd say so. I mean, they essentially just have a delete button. And if Naja ult or if Kumba ult hits, there should be a kill. And the only counterplay is, oh no, someone's in the sky, we need to just go to Scylla. If we get to Scylla, then we can kill her before they get the one shot off.
Well, unfortunately for you guys, and at least fortunate after, is we do have to take it to a very quick break as we get the lobby remade out there. So we'll be sure to come back in just a moment to get you started for game number 1.
And so, what foot forward will we see from the Leviathans today? Are they going to get back to their winning ways prior to Phase 3 playoffs? Will the Oni Warriors continue to build up some momentum? Ends up being the big question of the day. Ends up solo lane, Kumba, and a brawl in the mid lane to start off the game. More scrap than brawl. But it looks like Trelly will get his wish here, Myth, with Haddix on the Kumba.
We'll give him partial credit, all right? Because Trelly, in his infinite wisdom, forgot to mention the opportunity for a Naja in mid. We knew it was going to Shinto all
Oh, my
along.
goodness.
Yeah.
I'm so bad at my job, I didn't even realize it was
Hey, that's what
Naja.
I'm here for, man. Now you hype it up. That's the gist of
Well,
it.
it's got to do something first.
Is that true?
You hype up the fact that it's there.
Uh-huh. It's so hyped that it's
Yeah, see how hard that
Naja
is?
mid,
And then when, like, Naja mid does something nuts,
and it will.
that's when I get to yell and scream. But that also means an Artemis support for Wrong You. It's gone Benevolence. I'm thinking traps on max level. You're maxing your trap, and that's it. and that's your support utility.
Well, it is the entirety of your support utility.
Yeah?
I do not think it's going to get maxed,
Shouldn't.
but there is an interesting,
Blink
like,
Artemis, too.
I mean, interesting synergies, right? Sick 'em from Scylla, throw out the Transgressor's Fate. The entire time they're CC'd, Artemis is doing even more damage. You could really lock someone down for a while here.
I also like that Zapman's playing the PK Scylla skin, so we get a nice look at the PK logo. And a lot of those are going to be connecting onto Neoma in theory in the laning phase.
That's poetic.
Yeah, what is that? So it's like the god that got him his second worlds now crushing him in lane or something like that, right?
That's the hero's journey right there.
I don't know. You're the big story guy, so I was hoping you would have some example from literature, but we're going to have to hold that. Panatom rooted in place, and it's a dash forward from Dardes. Is it an overextension? No.
Oh,
Maybe
we're
needed to
okay.
be there. Another couple of autos into Shinto would have been first blood, but the Naja mid having a tough time right off the bat.
Yeah, the resustain will come through pretty quickly. Now he's got access to that second ability. His passive will essentially be fully stacked at all times, so long as he's able to land ring bounce on wave, and I trust Shinto to be able to do that, so Dardes will have to fight through a good deal of healing here. And somehow, some way, Shinto already experiencing a bit of an experience lead. Takes over to level 3 first before the wave is even cleared. Dardes just now hitting 3 himself. I mean, that's just the Shinto special, I suppose.
Right. Well, Dardes will have pressure, and he'll have his support for a red buff invade, unless Shinto, Wrong You, and Zap can steal it away. They cannot. Neoma does drop the red, but does jump over the wall right next to Wrong You. I don't think the Artemis support's going to be doing much in the first 2.5 minutes of this game to slow down Neoma. Maybe
There it is.
help confirm. I'm telling you, look at that. And opens up for the hog. That's just an outplay from Wrong You.
Wrong you nasty at Artemis support. Historically so.
Oh.
Shinto
Oh,
just
no.
goes down. Simple for Dardes. Bramble Blast at a range. Locks him in place. Perfectly times the dash to instant cancel after he applies his damage. And from there, First Blood follows suit. And expected Naja from behind to have that happen to him pretty consistently. You don't really have the strongest disengage tools unless you're, just ulting out all the time, in which case I'm sure Dardes is fine with that too.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen plenty of assassins in mid,
Yeah,
but
Naja.
not Naja. and Trelly and the desk, they were somewhat worried about wave clear from Shinto, and now that becomes potentially an issue if you're fighting from behind anyway. Cubo Fred back to mid, beads off of Shinto, but the damage still connecting. Not enough of it. I think that Wild Hunt had not been beadsed. Might have been enough to kill off Shinto with some extra damage. But unfortunately for Shinto, now those beads are gone, opens up an opportunity for Cuvo Fred to return to mid.
Yeah, and Shinto's still not ticking over to 5, means that that rotation from Cuvo will likely find some value. This is psychotic.
Sticking around?
Yeah, I can't believe it. And I'm sure Cuvo Fred had zero expectation of it because he just backed on left side jungle
This is
like 5 feet away.
This is a Zapman teammate, right? I mean, this
That's
is
the Zap
when
special.
you team with Zap for long enough, you absorb his tendencies.
One more wave.
One more wave. Maybe a gank from Panatom. Forget who's the jungler in this composition. Vote sidesteps the I'm a Monster.
Oh, hold on.
But has already used the beads. Crush down. And Crush gets some damage, but the Leviathans don't have enough. Numa on the transformation repels the gank.
Red buff invade from the Oni Warriors as Shinto can only watch on from a distance. Buff taken, credit to Dardes. But the rotation still on tour. Cuvo Fred, looking like Mr. Worldwide, has eyes for Panatop.
Over to the purple buff now, and that'll get dropped on the fadeaway by the Leviathans. And so at least the Levi's able to protect their purple buff, where everything else has been Oni Warriors. This could be trouble for Shinto. Has ult, does not have beads. Cuvo Fred and Dardes just getting their ults back. Cuvo's going to cut off the escape path here, but Shinto's just going to go right back through the mid lane. I'm not sure if they were going for the kill. They might have just lost interest, and Shinto will get out just fine.
Yeah, I mean, had they been going for the kill, I don't think the Oni Warriors have any way to predict that movement. They weren't, though. They were going for the Greater Scorpion. I'm noticing a bit of a difference here between these two teams. Feels like the Oni Warriors just wanted a bit more, man.
Well, look, the Oni Warriors do have implications for the last couple of sets of their year.
What's the implication?
Well, they could be 4th or 5th or 6th.
It's about the implication.
And it's all about the implication in this set and avoiding dropping down. Because, look, there is ultimately a difference, right? If my brain is correct, which it's often not, it would be 3rd seed versus 6th seed in one of the quarterfinals, and then 4th versus 5th in the other to start off the Phase 3 playoffs. And so right now, that's just the Titans and the Oni Warriors, and it does change, I guess, what kind of side of the bracket you go to.
Yeah, you got it, bracket.
So I guess difference between 4th or 5th could be important. Really hoping to avoid dropping into 6th though, and off to a good start. The decent lead early in this game. Wild Hunt does connect onto Shinto this time, but a counter gank for Panatom in mid. And down comes Nika from the heavens and cleans up the kill onto Shinto, but stuck behind his own wall nearly to death. That's one more for the Onis, empty-handed for the Leviathans.
Yeah, Haddix just can't keep up with those rotations, man. Kumakarna just does not have the tools to match pace with Nika on this Thor. Anvil of Dawn's going to be changing up these 3v3s in mid into 4v3s pretty consistently so long as Nika is allowed to rotate out. Once Haddix has Book of Thoth stacked up, it'll be a little bit easier for him. That first ability, just going to be able to clear the wave pretty consistently. Then maybe he can get the jump on some of these rotations.
Haddix, hoping to secure the blue buff on the other side of the map, will not.
They're not fighting that.
Yeah, surprisingly. And Haddix has gone Book of Thoth. So the Deaths talked about this a bit as well, Myth, where when Haddix has played Kumba, it's been a very high damage Kumba. And it looks like that's what's on the mindset of Haddix here.
I mean, Kumakarna has really, really good burst. It's relying on CC immunity being down, namely those beads. Because you're not exactly ultimate reacting to Epic Uppercut. It generally has to be like a pre-beads. It comes out so quickly. But the second you've taken the damage, or you've taken the CC from Epic Uppercut, you are confirmed a Groggy Strike or his first ability on landing every single time, so long as you've got any semblance of timing. And considering Haddix has played this game for 8-9 years, I'm pretty sure he knows how the combo works. So once we are full build, expect this Kumba to be reliably putting out like 1,300 burst.
Haddix, my goodness. Gonna get melted by the Oni Warriors into the passive. Teammates fighting over the kill, but Nika's gonna be the one to grab it. Panatom over in solo as well. This is a 3 versus 1. Panatom gets some assistance from Shinto, who's rotated over to right out of mid as well. Sash no good. Looks like Panatom and Shinto will hold on to their ultimates. Might need to use them now, though, because the dive is real, and Nika has follow-up if needed with the Anvil of Dawn. And it won't have to get used this time Shinto does just a bit too much there and gives the Oni Warriors some more kills.
Yeah, misses out on his entire wave as well, loses his tower. The Oni Warriors, well, they've got themselves a pretty nice lead. I didn't realize how large it was until just now. 9 minutes in, 4,000 gold.
To the mid-level gap.
Yeah, this ain't looking good. And that's how you know the Leviathans are up to something different as Wrong Q tastes dirt once more. Shinto's actually a lower level than Panatom.
So
that doesn't happen.
So to be clear, it wasn't the Artemis support that had you knowing the Leviathans were up to something different.
No, because that guy was also playing the Yana support in like a high-stakes regular season game in Phase 1.
Right. Right. So, I mean, I guess all bets are off. But you know when
something's up.
Right, when Cheeto's behind an experience and hasn't been. Just now finishes Transcendence and has 10 stacks on it, with a fully stacked Devourer's Gauntlet for Dardes on the other side of the lane.
Just means he's got more time and space to grow, right? You're going to get even more value from that Transcendence.
Right.
The power spikes never stop.
Power spikes for Nika, though, because remember, we've seen this Thor solo with the Dragons recently, and they played like hyper dive comp with Runeforged early on Thor, and it made that comp just go absolutely nuts. And so really cool to see, even though we haven't seen it take over the solo lane by any means, but obviously it's taken some hold, and Nika making it look good so far.
Yeah, I mean, I have always expected Runeforge to be a pretty viable item. Nice disengage from Vote, avoids the full-on dive from the level 9 and 7.
Also looks really cool.
What, Runeforged?
Runeforged, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's any runes on it, though.
No, it's forged through a rune. Goodbye, Vote, in the meantime. Zapman cleans
they got
up the
this one
first
too.
kill of the game for the Leviathans. Dardes now in a very bad spot. Wild Hunt down, Dardes dashes away.
It's no damage.
Wrong You doesn't have enough damage, but Panatom does with the Winds of Shamash. And the Leviathans with a clean 2 kills onto both of the carries of the Oni Warriors. The Warriors did pick up the Pyromancer in the meantime.
And unfortunately, even with the 4 stack on the Leviathans on the left, there's just not a whole lot to be done. Good dunk from Nika. Just shuts down Shinto towards the middle of the map. The same point I'm about to make about the Leviathans, where they're just like, gold's dead, nothing we can really do about it. You don't have a standard hunter either, so you can't pressure the tower. Oni Warriors can't do anything with this kill either, besides maybe invade this red buff. Unless Panatom's got something to say about it.
I want to take note, Neoma, when he transforms into the dragon on this skin and breathes fire, the little hat rumbles around on his head, and it's hilarious. Oh no, he's not going to do it again before he de-transforms, but keep your eyes on it next time.
You think he transforms again this game, or?
Oh, I don't know, man.
I hope so. I gotta see that hat rumble, bro. I'm gonna be so mad if I don't see this rumbly hat.
You should. You should be. You're missing out on life big time. It's the little things. Right now, the little things for the Oni Warriors. There's actually a big thing. It's a hefty lead that they've built up over aggression in the last couple of minutes. 5 or so thousand gold. What? You didn't like that transition?
No, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it after, man. I'll consult you on this one.
I think I know what you're getting at, man. And I hate it now that I realize it. That's bad by me. Oh well. I'll live. I'll move on. Neil is, look, when you look at it's such a you gotta stop laughing or else I'm not gonna stop laughing. Yeah, I think you've made me cry more than anyone else in the last year or so, but it's all laughing.
Okay, there we go. You gotta really make sure we're explicit about that.
Right, we have to be. I love the transition period now for this Oni Warriors composition because you got the dive from Nika and Cubo Myth, but also with Neomai, you get the team-wide coerce, you get the Shoguns. This double hunter composition is going to be so good at burning some of these objectives.
It's a real draft, man.
I know. I'm just saying, I love the way it's been built out by the Oni Warriors. We haven't seen these 5 gods together probably at all this year. And the way they've been able to not only look for kills but objectives has been impressive.
Yeah, objective's the name of the game of this composition for sure. Anytime you got double hunter plus Fafnir. I was going to say kills Fire Giants, but instead kills the entirety of the Leviathans and does it quickly.
Look at that! Look at the hat! Breathe some fire!
He's going to do it.
Oh, if he doesn't, I'm losing it. Come on!
He'll find something. Here we go. Here we go.
Oh my God! No way!
No.
No chance! He didn't breathe any fire!
No, he's going to help his boy. Watch.
Yeah. No! That is unreal. That's so unlucky.
What a tease.
What a tease. But another good fight here for the Oni Warriors, Myth, who are compounding their gold lead by the minute. Gotten a bit out of control. Zapman sends his I'm a Monster through. But not quite the Paul Lake performance yet from Zap. But could get there at 101. It's only fallen a couple levels behind.
I mean, I would argue this is very Paul because when the Tartarus Titans are losing, almost without fail, you can look at Paul's KD, and my man's putting a goose egg in the death column. And generally not a whole lot of kills and assists when the entire team is falling behind either. So I'm thinking Zapman's right on par.
Shinto might fall for the 6th time this game. Nika,
Certainly not.
uninterested in the follow-up. Has Anvil of Dawn and Hammer. Oh, yeah, here we go.
No, Shinto.
Up,
One
down,
more wave.
One more minion. Sticks around Nika with the easiest dunk of his life. That's his 4th. This Thor off to a great start. And you kind of move into the hybrid style Glad Shield after the fact.
We 3-splitting green buff, boys.
Yeah, Shinto's not on the map. What is he?
Shinto is maulding right now. Guys, I just died, and you're taking the green? What am I supposed to farm?
I don't know. Green when it's back up, I guess, or the minions at his tier 2, because that's where he's been backed up for the last few minutes. Oni Fury to the Oni Warriors. Neoma and Vote do it relatively quickly. This could be a speedy Fire Giant type game for the Oni Warriors. We're at 15, but with their comp and their gold lead, wouldn't be surprised to see a right-hand side of the map shift from this team.
Gonna have to get through Haddix first, and it won't be easy. He's getting pretty tanky already with Breastplate of Valor in that 2nd slot. Kumba doesn't put a whole lot of threat on the objective steal, but he's got a lot of disruption, a lot of CDR already. I think Haddix could probably play spoiler to some early Fire Giants. He won't survive very long. The Oni Warriors are really ahead, but could certainly try and slow him down.
What do we think about Toxic Blade for Rangyu? Needs to get some anti-heal as a support.
A little bit of damage. I don't hate it.
Well, the problem is it's like the best of the options maybe for a support Artemis, right?
His best option is just build damage.
Sure. Or, but he wants to be the support, which is why I'm saying you max trap, because that's your only that's your support utility. Because I don't know, you're
that's standard. That's Artemis stuff.
No, I know. Okay. I feel like it shouldn't have to be said, and I'll get back to it here in just a moment. There's 3 of the Oni Warriors against a couple of the Leviathans. We'll take those odds every day of the week.
Ooh.
Tusky flies around, does almost no damage, and another 2 for the Oni Warriors. Root onto Zapman from Cuvo Fred. And the I'm a Monster will provide some safety from the dunk of Nika, and the beads from the stun, and the Aegis from the 2-tap. But there's too much from the Oni Warriors. We'll find 3 more kills.
Look, Zapman's not using his relics the majority of the time, so if he's going to do it, I'm thinking the Oni Warriors should at least just reward him, allow him to live, yeah. So he builds some good habits. Now Zapman goes back to the grayscale and says, well, I'm using beads and Aegis, and it's still not keeping me alive. What's the point?
Shinto is level 11. Neil is level 13.
Brutal.
Brutal.
Same level. That never happens.
No. Brutal from the Leviathans here in game 1. With their unique composition. And I do mean that in the caster unique way, by the way. Fire Giant pulled by the Oni Warriors, as it should be, and confirmed somewhat easily. If there's a fight after the fact, I can't imagine it goes much better for the Leviathans from what we've seen. Nika doesn't have Anvil of Dawn, but will in just a moment. Neoma transforms! Yeah. Oh no, his name kind of, he's jumping a little bit.
He's not gonna do it
no,
again.
No, he did. I think. Yeah, there we go. I don't know if he'll. Here we go on the Greater Scorpion. Here we go on the coup.
Dude, is Neil listening?
Yeah, he must be. Hold tap.
Oh, Zap.
Zap goes in. Nika goes up.
Oh, Zap's
Nika,
dead.
Nika might just go down on this one. Zapman doesn't. Mifflin, you gotta stop. That's not my fault.
I got it. Zapman stunned out, taking a lot of damage. Nika shut down on this one. Easy stuff. Cubo Fred on the retreat. Panatom
hey, yo.
has to get out of here. No, Cubo Fred's okay, right? He's going to have overhead kick pretty shortly. No, he's done. He's done.
Goodness gracious. Now I'm scared to talk at all for the rest of this. You're about to solo cast this because I'm too scared to say
No,
words.
you're doing great.
I'm hanging in there, man. I'm trying. Dardes. Choose my words carefully. Drop kicked against a wall and some life from the Leviathans. This would be a great
Ooh,
kill.
got him.
Picked up a kill on Dardes, and it's wrong you, the support Artemis.
Vote standing his ground?
And Vote sticks around. Vote will pick up one at least. And honestly, a bit more health on Vote. You're maybe seeing a turnaround there. Those are low health bars on the Leviathans.
Yeah, well, Neilma had to maintain the undying status at 0-0-10, so leaves Vote out to dry. Tough stuff, the Oni Warriors. That's the entirety of your Fire Giant Siege, I'm thinking. I mean, there's no reason to stop. You're still 10k up. Only one tier 2 standing. All right, wait for the respawns, regroup, push down left. It's not like the Leviathans actually beat you on a siege defense. That was more of a scattered battle across the map. Yeah, Warriors, keep your momentum. You know, keep that energy.
Yep. They will. They've only got the one FG buff, and they did get the Phoenix. Mid lane Phoenix still up. I imagine Myth, the only Warriors, probably in a spot where even without Fire Giant, they've got enough of a lead that you could probably siege up a Phoenix just team fight-wise without FG and feel okay.
Yeah, I mean, your composition is a late-game scaled composition on the Oni Warriors. Double Hunter really starting to spool up. Crit online for Vote. Yellow numbers damage from Dardes as well. Odysseus and Kinsize finished up. The only thing that might slow them down is the relic status. Waiting on a couple of those beads on some priority targets, but I just can't imagine the Oni Warriors are worried about any fight that comes their way.
Maybe the level 16 Scylla can get something done around the Primal Fury. Taking a lot of damage is something, I suppose. Neilma will jump away. Ultimate's all ready to go here for the Oni Warriors and the Leviathans as well, but
Oh, here comes Nika.
only one of the 4 blinks that the Leviathans have is there. Nika drops
Yikes.
down from the heavens into the back of the team fight. I'll word it properly this time. But it's an initiation from Shinto. Windfire Wheels catch out Vote, and Zapman deletes the target.
Hold on.
It's a 1-for-1 trade, and suddenly some wind in their sails.
What?
No chance. The Leviathans are turning this fight around. Nika dashed on, doesn't have the rest of his squad with him. Beads used for the drop kick. And it'll be a kill and a big team fight win for the Leviathans.
The Levi's just played it better. Panatom
What in the
goes
world?
massive in the back line. Nika starts off the fight incredibly well, so I had figured, okay, Oni Warriors disengage, regroup, and it's going to be so easy. Now that Rongyu hasn't got the ultimate, I had completely discounted the idea, the mere even thought of Panatom going in with a 3-man Winds of Shamash double stun combo to completely shred the Oni Warriors. What will the Levi's do with this
How
space,
did Shinto
though?
catch up?
Shito's caught up?
He's ahead.
No, Shito's not ahead.
He's only 1 level down to Dardes. He was level 11 like 3 minutes ago.
Yo, 1 kill goes a long way when you're 0-7.
He is equal with Dardes. Dardes, in theory, has a little XP lead.
Let's see the gold, like, overall. Let's see net worth.
Dardes is ahead by like 7 XP per minute.
All right, where's Shinto at? Okay, okay, well,
Okay, I'm talking purely
experience. And you're absolutely right. He's done it.
Which I can't. He was like 4 or 5 levels down. I guess the 1 kill on a Dardes enough.
Dardes is punching air right now. He's like, I'm winning for 21 minutes and 50 seconds, and you're telling me he killed me 1 time?
Yeah.
And he's ahead? The Shinto passive's too strong.
Rongyu has now picked up Animosity, as we assumed she would, on the Artemis. With the Kinsize and the Toxic Blade, so a bit of a hybrid build from Rongyu.
Rongyu's like, wait, guys, we gonna win this? Or?
Yeah, wait, I should start building some damage, maybe? Fire Giant's still pulled by the Oni Warriors. Despite what was a rough last team fight, they still have a massive lead in this game and now pick up the FG and a chance at the right side Phoenix.
So you're telling me the Leviathans were willing to show up in numbers to defend a Gold Fury
I'm telling you
from
that.
infinitely behind, win it handily, and they're like, Fire Giant, we'll let them have this one.
Yeah, not so much. Interesting for sure. Maybe the Leviathans are liking the idea of this fight. Maybe they shouldn't, though. Panatom barely gets his ult off, and that's all he's been able to do. Zapman with the I'm a
Good dog.
monster doesn't grab any kills, but here comes Nika for a double tap from the Thor, and the Oni Warriors mop the floor with the Leviathans, and it's looking like they'll close out game 1.
Dardes still has the ultimate. Haddix can't do anything. Well, except for Die, like 5 feet away from his fountain. Easy stuff for the Oni Warriors. They came with a real composition. They came with the implication. And they take game 1.
If we went forwards, backwards, sideways, spun around in that
Up,
cast.
down.
Well, yeah, I didn't say up or down. I somehow. Well, no, I think I've mentally blocked saying those things in conjunction with one another. This wasn't like full-on chaos in the same way our first set of the day was.
Yeah.
The Oni Warriors still have some shifting that could be done in the standings, and so they come to play, and they look really good here in game 1. The different composition from the Leviathans, not so much.
Well, at some points it wasn't so bad, right? I mean, it might have
That
worked
one
out.
time it looked good.
Yeah, just get Rongu off of ADCs, and I think you're probably going to have an okay draft.
Somehow Shinto caught up in experience.
That guy's nuts.
Not fast enough, though. Still ends the game with an L. The Oni Warriors start off the set 1-0. We'll see what happens in game 2 coming up next.
Well, game number 1 goes over to the Oni Warriors, and while some of these games may not necessarily have the biggest implications for these teams, they are still playing to make it to the SMITE World Championship in January in Arlington, Texas. And some of the other great things that's going to be happening at that is the cosplay contest. So make sure that if you're a cosplayer, if you even wanted to dip your toes into it, make sure you sign up now on smitegame.com/SWC for a chance at our 9th annual cosplay contest. $9,000 prize pool on the line as well. So if you're into cosplay in any degree, go ahead and give it a shot. Sign up today or at smitegame.com/SWC. Oni Warriors, though, able to take game number 1 over the Atlantis Leviathans. And, well, maybe who would have guessed that a kind of a more standardized composition, Charlie, out of the Oni Warriors would perform a little bit better than what the Atlantis Leviathans brought to us. The Naja mid didn't start off so hot for Shinto. The Artemis support for Rongu didn't really get the pop-off that maybe the Leviathans were hoping.
I expected the Artemis support to get the ball rolling a little bit more, I'll be honest. I wanted to see some more action. I wanted to see some more setup. It was sort of there, but just not as much as you would expect. And I think, it didn't start well either. Dardez on the CERN was definitely commanding that mid lane, and I think that's where it all started. But the Leviathans were able to answer back sometime. I mean, there was the Gold Fury fight where they had a pretty decent turnaround, but, the Oni Warriors, I think, the ones that really want to make sure they're going up in the standings, that sort of thing, they had the comp that they knew late game that they were going to be just fine. Unfortunately, I also didn't see enough of the the Kumba into the Zapman ult or the Shinto ult into the Zapman ult, and it could just be because of how split up all these picks were. If Sil was in mid, she could get to either one of those ults pretty easily, but because Zap was taking her over to dual lane, wasn't quite with the rest of the team to set up for those plays.
Now, I just thought about something that we didn't get a chance to see, well, mostly because this game was ending here by this 23 or so minute mark, is the fact that Haddix and Shinto could have comboed together and double banished a single person
For like 10 seconds.
For like the longest combo to keep somebody out of combat, and then that would have given Zapman plenty of time to make sure to line up and I'm a monster. Or you could have even taken 2 people out of the fight at the same exact time.
Yeah, how you
if they comboed it there.
How you not winning a 5v3, bro?
Right?
Just take 2
Well,
people out of the fight.
I guess like 4 because
Yeah,
like
'cause
the
Naja's
Naja's
also
also
gone.
out of the fight.
That's fair. I didn't think about that one. So how you not winning the
The
4v3?
4v3. Yeah, the 4v3. That then turns to a 4v4 because Kumbo comes back down a little faster. But end of the day, it didn't work out for Leviathans in this one. Maybe back to the drawing board on some of the picks for them. Oni Warriors, though, were now 1 game away from being able to win out this set and being able to, at the very least, solidify themselves in that 5th seed position, something that Neil Ma was talking about early on, was making sure that they don't fall down. And the Olympus Bolts, again, if they get a win against the Valkyries tomorrow, could have potentially knocked the Oni Warriors down to that 6th seed spot. So 1 game away from at least bare minimum getting 5th seed for the Oni Warriors. We'll see if they can close it out in game number 2 as we jump into the picks and bans for that game right now between the Leviathans and the Warriors. Levi's, once again, we'll take that first pick selection. It doesn't seem like game 1 troubled the Leviathans too much. You can see Panatom's pretty relaxed in his chair, leaning.
I mean, Shinto napped before, Panatom naps after. That's just the play style of this squad.
So Panatom is leaning in a different way to the chair. He is like slouched to the chair, leaning his body forward. But those chairs, I'll be a testament to the chairs. Those things can lean back to almost 180 degrees with that chair. So I'm surprised he's the one slouching himself as opposed to the chair, man.
Well, you always want to be at prime gaming like height, you know, so your head can always be like if you need to just jump into a game real fast, you can always just lean forward.
No, that's fair.
I think that's the call there for Pantom. But Picks and Bans going largely the same, except for the Morgan, letting that one through maybe. The Leviathans are trying to grab it themselves, or more specifically, maybe Dardes will get to play it because the Leviathans did take it away last time, and instead of that Morgan, they're throwing the Cernanos in the mix, and they don't want to deal with that again.
I'm gonna tell you, I was about like 2 seconds away from trying to do a Bane impression after you said Picks and Banes.
I was born in the darkness.
I figured I wouldn't be able to do it as well because I don't have like a cup with me to get the extra like echoed audio with it. But it will be AMC Cerna's dodgy ban for the Leviathans. Warriors take away the Vulcan, Cthulhu, and Yamojo once again. This time it will be on her for a first pick for Leviathans, Ishtar for the Oni Warriors. And now with the Cernanos, I wonder where we'll see Dardes go to in the mid lane. Does he pick up another Hunter? This on her is something that Dardes specifically likes to play in the mid for the Warriors, so maybe a nice extra 4th ban for the Leviathans, taking that one away from him.
Yeah, that could be the call here, but the Oni Warriors are just going to make sure that they get themselves that Ishtar, and then consider this one. Last time, they really wanted to grab an extra support, and it looks like that will be the call. They want to get that Fafnir locked in, possibly for the double Hunter composition, but as you highlighted, the CERN and the AMC, as well as the on her taken away. Dardes' god pool is dwindling. I mean, I think I go to Chernobog, like besides that, like these hunters that he would like to play are slowly but surely getting out of there. I'm noticing a trend here, J-Mag. I'm seeing a couple of hunty boys.
Do you think this is the ultimate Zapman propaganda? We drafted
if they
5
win,
hunters.
If they win, then Zap can't talk ever again. Like Zap is no longer
but
allowed
you know
to
that
speak.
if they lose, you'll be like, man, we had 5 of these hunters and they still couldn't win a game. Maybe hunters really aren't that good, man.
I mean, Zap could find a way to spin it regardless, but it looks like they were just dipping their toes in the Hunter comp and decided against it. Probably the correct call, but maybe we get to see the reprisement of the Artemis support.
The Rontimus.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out a good way to do Wrong You and Artemis, and I couldn't think of one to me. I think Rontimus is about the best one I can come up with on the
That's the
spot.
best you can get, and I don't think it's going to get much better. But hey, the Oni Warriors, they found something that works, and it looks like they're sticking with it.
Only thing they'll have to change, at least for now, is the Cernanos mid lane for Dardes, because everything else they can still continue their draft with. Fafnir and Thor for the Oni Warriors. A Gilgamesh ban. Keeping that one away from Panatom on the Leviathans. Maybe hoping that he doesn't pick the Leviathans. I almost call it the Leviathans Panatom skin.
Let's be honest, it is a Panatom
It is a Panatom skin. The Leviathans Gilgamesh to delay us a little bit longer. Susano also, so just bans towards Panatom. A little bit of respect there from the Oni Warriors. Meanwhile, Morgan and Cupid banned away there. So a little bit of respect towards Dardes, who still had that Morgan as an option, but now will not do so now that the second bans are done. And with a Raven, that's 4 out of 5. The only one who's got to change is Dardes. Or maybe vote, I guess, if Ishtar goes to Dardes.
No, he wants the Hera. That's what I'm still calling for. I've been calling for every time Dardes last picks, which is more often than not. I want the Hera pick. Not gonna say it's like fantastic into the honor and Dardes, but it's Dardes' Hera, and it just got buffed. So what better time than the present? You know, if that's the case, I'm with it. But because it's a Fafnir, they still could go for the double Hunter composition. It just really depends on what Dardes wants to go for. And if he just wants to get aggressive in that lane, which we know he always likes to do, right? He's never sitting back, level 5, you know, not trying to force some sort of a fight. So I guess it really depends on who he's up against. You know, you'd think it's one of those Hunters, but could always be the Atlas mid. You know, that's something that Shinta could go to. Zapman played a mage last time as well, so there's a whole myriad of different options that Dardes could be up against. So probably smart to save your pick for last.
We've also seen Atlas go to solo lane a couple of times, but with a tier being hovered by Leviathans, could just be a fairly standard composition for the Leviathans this time around. It will be double Hunter within a Wheelish, and if a tier gets locked in, I mean, this feels like a pretty good Wheelish composition, Trelly.
That's the Zungle. That's the Zap Wheelix right
You're
there.
thinking Zapman is going to go jungle.
Dude, do you not remember at the start of, Season 8? That he was supposed to be jungle, and Bear was like, yeah, sign me up. I want to be on the Zungle. Like, they almost did it. And I've seen Zap play Artemis, or Wheelix, rather, on stream. If you're throwing that Artemis over to support, give someone else the honor, and yeah, let's see the Zungle. I'm here for it.
So, if we're throwing Zapman into the jungle with a Wheelish, not Artemis, a Wheelish.
Yeah.
Then Panatom would either have to go to the dual lane or we're seeing more role swaps? So you think it's just a single role swap between Zapman and Panatom in that regard?
I didn't want to think of the logistics of it. I just
You just wanted to see it.
I just wanted to say, hey, Zungle, and then that would be it. But I guess it is my job to tell you. So
Okay.
if Zap goes jungle Artemis, I mean Owilix, I gotta stop saying Artemis. She is there. Then yeah, maybe Shinto could take Shinto can take the Atlas mid. And, of course, the Artemis has to go back to support because it had such a successful time in game number 1.
Right.
You're not going to not feed the hot hand. I mean, wrong use trap placement. That was top tier. So then, sure, on her and just give it over to Panatom. I'm with it.
Maybe we do see at least this Ishtar kind of go to a new spot. Rom was the final selection for the Oni Warriors, and that Vote has been playing a lot of. We saw him in his matchup against the Camelot Kings even pick up this god as well. So Ishtar mid for Darda, still double hunter, still kind of feeds into the double hunter Fafnir composition that the owners are going through. Again, all they've had to do is change up a single god for themselves, so not much change-ups they need to make. Do you think it's a better draft for the Atlantis Leviathans to stand a chance against the Warriors, Charlie?
Well, I just realized I hate it now because they ruined the theme, and I didn't even realize it until just now. They had On Her, Atlas, Owilix, Artemis, tier.
Oh.
They had 4 A's, and they missed the last one. Why is there even a tier there?
So, what do they go to? Like Achilles, I guess? Achilles, Athena.
There's plenty of options.
There's a lot of gods that
There's
start
plenty,
with A.
and they ruined it.
I
So
think-
now they don't have my vote anymore. I'm looking at the double hunter comp from the Oni Warriors. They've got Fafnir. That makes a little bit more sense to me.
There's so many gods that start with the letter A that they could have gone for, and for some reason they just decided tier was the answer in that regard. So, ruined by the Atlantis Leviathans, but at least the Oni Warriors still keeping up their same pace that they had in game number 1. It was a fast game 1 for the Oni Warriors, one of their faster games, especially up against a top team like the Leviathans there. Remember, 1 game away for the Oni Warriors to be able to, at the bare minimum, clinch their 5th seed, maybe potentially be able to overtake the Tartars Titans, depending on how their sets go for the remainder of today and then the remainder of tomorrow as well, because both the Titans and the Warriors play then. But before we can get to that, we've got to get to game number 2 between the Atlantis Leviathans and the Oni Warriors right now with Dulcin and Mifflin.
Yeah, it looks like the Oni Warriors just want to run it back here in game number 2, and why not? You won in like 23 minutes in game 1. Why not build a similar composition here? And we'll see if they can get it done, or if the Leviathans are going to push back maybe a bit more effectively. They change up their composition. The Leviathans do, Miff. Looks like more standard top to bottom.
Well, more.
But actually, is it any more standard? Because it's just the same comp. It's just drawing you on Artemis support again.
That's the whole comp, Dave. You got it.
Right, but I'm saying that was the only weird bit from game 1.
Well, there was a Naja mid.
Oh, yeah, but now it's an Atlas mid. Is that more or less weird?
It's happened more often.
Okay.
It might, hot take for me, it might personally be just a straight up worse pick if I had to guess. Like, I am not a fan of Atlas in mid. Hasn't seen a whole lot of success. I think the only time we've seen Atlas mid win like anything was when Sprack took it mid.
Right.
But that was more so like role swap Atlas mid, where he spends half the game playing mid, half the game playing jungle. I just don't love exactly what Atlas brings to that lane. We'll see though. Certainly, Shinto hasn't not got like a lack of experience in the ability to play Guardians in mid. He's played the Kabrakan pretty well in the past, so one-shot style of build might be in the cards here. The Atlas dash scales very, very well come late game, so upwards of like 800 damage probably if he's able to line it up.
I'm not sold. You're a bad salesman.
I wasn't trying to sell it as a thing. I wanted it for me, so
Yeah,
deal
well,
with that.
we'll see. Shinto maybe gets run at. Now, it is a bit of a pivot for the Oni Warriors here in that Cubo Fred is playing Robin solo and Nika's on the Thor in the jungle. Oh, wait, no. They're just swapped on the right side. My brain was in pain. So it is still Nika on Thor solo. And that really worked out for the Oni Warriors, Miff. And they just sort of ran it at the Leviathans. A lot of Shinto catching flack in mid, and so potentially a good gank opportunity for the Oni Warriors.
Yeah, and Shinto's on an even less safe pick this time around. You don't have the option to just ult out of sticky situations. Your dash is blockable as well. You haven't got any way to remove yourself from the playfield like a Sash does, so wouldn't be surprised if the Oni Warriors have got eyes for Shinto going forward. Good trap from Rongyu, prevents any follow-up from Neilma, but pressure still does belong to the Oni Warriors, who've taken just about every single bit of contestable farm on this side of the map. I imagine the Warriors continue to take this one seriously, man. I mean, it was clean play from them through and through,
Yeah.
barring one team fight around the Gold Fury. The Leviathans, they might think that some of these individual picks have got some value, just could be using today as a bit of a test.
Oh, that's big damage from Zapman on the jump in. Volto with the med has stayed alive. Numa supplying some heals to his ADC. But I love the aggression from Zapman. Jumps in, gets the knock up, big spear back, puts Vote on the back foot. Now, it's a blue buff invade looked at by the Leviathans. Nika ends up just going back to the blue, dropped by the Oni Warriors. And so unsuccessful invade for Haddix and Panatom.
Good attempt. I think the 2v2 in the Soul Lane is one of the strongest points of the Leviathans draft here. Tyr and a Wheelish together have just got such massive damage output, and both have really, really good ways to stop the teleport for Nika. Every single time Thor throws out the hammer, maybe you go for the feather step, and that's just enough of a delay that you're no longer getting value from the leap, or a fearless if it connects on time can prevent it as well. So, interesting matchup for the Leviathans there. I think one that they continue to go back towards if they try to establish any sort of pressure throughout the early game. When you've got something like a double Hunter duo lane, which is not something we get to see often, but when you have it, you should be able to establish a pretty decent amount of pressure as well. And Zapman on the on-her could be left alone on an island once these supports rotate out.
Wonder if Rongyu changes his build at all. Looks like not, at least on the start. And then it was Toxic Blade, the kin size. There was one team fight in game one where even in a massive deficit, the Leviathans simply outplayed the Oni Warriors with this type of composition. Again, a very different look, but this type of composition. So I'm not counting out the Leviathans yet, but if the Oni Warriors can find pressure, presumably in mid or over, I mean, it might be hard to lock down Haddix. Great, the one lane I didn't reference, Cuvo. That's where you're going to end up going. Maybe a purple buff invade. Looks like Rongyu and Zap will play a bit more safe, not knowing where the Robin is. And into mid goes Panatom. First gank of the game. It's countered out by Cuvo Fred. Panatom hugs the wall, a root down. Panatom will dash away.
Yeah, Cuvo does not have quite enough damage yet to want to dedicate that ultimate. Had he finished up that first item, maybe things are different.
Lockdown, if nothing else, from Rongyu. Numa transforms.
Oh, that was sick.
He gets stunned up by Zapman, though, and the course out. There you go. You can see the hat rumbling from range, Myth. Look at it. See, it bounces around. Yeah, you see, it's kind of cool.
That is nice.
Yeah, it just bounces around when he breathes
Shouts
fire.
art team.
Yeah, I love the art team. Now, what we did see, Myth, big initiation, and I suppose I can't say Trap is the only support utility. Tusky, Fantastic, just stunning everyone. Rongyu just walks forward, drops it. Zapman follows up with a stun, and that chain CC nearly got a kill.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the order of operations. I think your PEMDAS might be off a little bit. I think it was the trap was already out, and then Zapman pillar stunned into the trap. If that's the case, probably the sickest thing that could have happened, because Zapman had to place that pillar perfectly. More likely, it was pillar stun, then Rongyu follows up with a trap, which should be the standard combo that the Leviathans duo lane is looking for. Either way, I mean, that's the CC lockdown that this duo gives you. I like it a lot.
Haddix over from Solo, hoping to defend his Greater Scorpion, and actually confirms it. So unlucky from Cuvo Fred, did 99% of the damage. But unfortunately, the blink in from the Tyr will steal it away from the Oni Warriors jungler. I think, okay, so Tyr has been rising in the ranks a bit here in the SPL as of late, Myth.
It's a high tier tier.
I love it because I like the way a Tyr can really control a game and so hard to check. But do you think the Oni Warriors have abilities and ways of dealing with Haddix?
I mean, the way the Oni Warriors are going to deal with Haddix is just kill him as he initiates. We've seen Tyr see a lot of success with like the movement steed style build. Won't really be allowed to do that when you've got double Hunter with a Fafnir Coerce on him looking at you. Tyr generally, I think, much better at separating like singular Hunter compositions, or mages really good at diving those as well. But if Dardes and Vote are standing on top of each other in like a mid-game or late-game team fight, unless Haddix is like hyper-stacked his defense, it'd be very hard to survive.
Vote's in some trouble here. Has to use the ultimate for CC immunity, but knocked up by Zapman, pulled in by Panatom, and it's first blood to the Atlantis Leviathans. Decent little lead built up now on the left side of the map. Rongyu steps forward. No stun, though, for Neilma, Cubo, Fred. Rongu goes in. There's Tusky. There's Pillar.
So
there's
sick.
stun. There's Trap. But a jump out from Neilma, and the Med has kept him alive. The transformation may buy enough time. Shinto from range gets the kill.
One.
The Leviathans do lose Zapman in trade. And maybe more if Cubo Fred can find an initiation. No, it's Nika from out of nowhere, giving the double to Dardes.
Dardes getting off to a great start here, stacking up his Devourers off of Gods rather than PvE. The Leviathans, a bit of an overextension, but one where I think it was well calculated. Had it been anybody besides Neilma that receives that immaculate CC combo that we had seen, it's instant death. And even then, nearly afterward with that follow-up, suppressed the insolent after the jump, but Neilma, very smart, immediately channels the ultimate, does lose value from his own meditation. Neilma's ultimate essentially acting as an Aegis means you won't be benefiting from healing as you're channeling it up, but avoids the burst, survives a little bit longer, and buys the time for Nika to start his rotation all the way from base. We saw Haddix start to slowly move his way towards that side of the map, but realizing that he just cannot match the speed of a Thor at this portion of the game, decides to clear some waves, then head back to lane.
Yeah, that's going to be a thread we have to follow with Haddix throughout the rest of this game, but dual lane continue to receive pressure from the Leviathans. Pillar slows down Vote.
He hit 2.
Couple spears hit Vote. Should be able to walk away just fine. So all of this pressure from the Leviathans myth funneled towards Vote, and Neilma has helped on a couple of kills, but I don't think it's kept them fully behind.
No, the Oni Warriors doing a very good job of mitigating loss on the map. We'll see whether or not it continues. Good leap from Neil. Avoids the Caledonian Boar.
Poor Tusky, he was ready to drop some stuns, and he just stands there sad after he misses everyone.
I want to zoom in on Tusky. That's your prerogative this game, Doug. I want to see what Tusky's face looks like. Have you ever seen it? I don't
And
think I have.
this has nothing to do with Doug. It was so hard for us to finally get Neilma to breathe fire on camera. The odds of Tusky standing still again.
Well, Rongyu's been whiffing Tuskies, let's be honest.
So you're saying it's a wrong you skill check, and you're thinking he's going to fail it 1 or 2 more times.
I didn't say skill check. I would say skill issue, though.
Oh, my
I think
God.
that's probably a bit
I
more in
hear
line
that
with
one
what
more
I'm willing
time-
to say.
Uh-huh.
Wait, someone been saying skill issue to you a lot recently.
No, it's been all over Twitter.
Rest in peace.
I could log on right now.
For how much longer?
I don't know. Who knows? Zapman gets jumped on by Neilma. Vote's close by as well, but doesn't have ultimate. Zapman doesn't have beads, though. Which is why I was looking at Vote's alt timer. Looks like they won't be able to fully lock down Zapman. But maybe a purple buff invade from Zap if he's feeling it. And he is. Sends the ultimate reset by Vote. Slow goings, my goodness. Take the purple. Vote trying to. We'll pick it up, but not without an attempted steal from Zap.
Yeah, loses out on that ultimate, so Cubo Fred's got a pretty clear target. No CC immunity available for Zapman, barring the beads. Not that you're overly concerned about it. Robin's got really good matchup and on her on gank anyway. Overhead kick to avoid the impale means that Zapman really hasn't got any way to create space for himself. And no turn and burn potential without the ultimate either. So if I'm Cubo Fred, I'm probably thinking it through. Thinking about whether or not I want to head over to the Zapman's lane. I'm thinking about it. I've decided. I'd like to see Cubo there.
Are you sold on the blink on Artemis? Is the goal just get closer for Tusky? Just blink, drop Tusky. And
I'm thinking so. Yeah.
That's got to be it, right?
I mean, it's like big. It's essentially Blink Cataclysm if you think about it.
It's perfect timing. Thank you, Wrong You. Lands on the Dardes, but Dardes will use the beads and back away. There you go. There's your answer. I mean, I suppose it was an obvious answer anyway, but we get an immediate visual of exactly what Wrong You is going for. Puts Dardes in an awkward spot. Haddix, though, now thought maybe on a solo invade, but no. Wrong You and Panatom just around the corner.
He's going in.
Lawbringer over the wall. Knock up on the Cubo Fred and a pullback in. On the other side of the map, Zapman's been soloed, and so the Leviathans need this to go well, and it is not. No kills for the Levi's on right. And in fact, it's going to get worse as Nika drops the hammer and adds another for the Oni Warriors. Haddix will at least pull one.
Haddix, though, he's in no man's land, surrounded. If Nika can throw up a wall, completely cuts off that escape corridor. Drops down, dash is good. Fearless is back up in the power stance, but
Oh my God.
one auto.
I
Two
just-
autos, I mean, is all you would have needed.
They got him. They
Yeah,
got him.
Nika's got it.
They got him. They got him.
He's got it.
He's there. It is. I think the heart of the minions might have
Thank
dealt
God.
the last bit of damage. They don't miss. And Nika didn't do much missing. And is able to clean up a couple of kills. And now we're starting to get back to where game one was. Now the gold lead is just equal because the Leviathans had pulled a nice little lead earlier on. What we didn't get to see, Myth, was Vote v Zapman, because on the right side of the map, a big fight was breaking out.
My favorite Supreme Court case.
Vote v Zapman.
That's right.
Let's see what ruling Vote gave to Zap and how it happened.
Zapman leaps in. Does avoid the stun. Things looking pretty good for the On Her here. Just didn't have access to the ultimate. Doesn't have crit. Loses the fight. I'd argue Vote got pretty lucky, though. I mean, that was a lot of crits, considering you've only got the one item.
Maybe. You
Well, I
think
mean-
that's pure luck?
What is it? It's 20% crit,
I'm
I believe,
thinking-
on Shadow Steel? Yeah, 20% crit. I saw 3
Yeah.
there out of like 7 autos. What's 3 out of 7 on 20%? The odds of that are,
I'm thinking.
are low.
I'm thinking Zap took the 1v1, thought about that Twitter thread with the players in the Face app where they changed
feminized
it,
players,
the
yeah.
feminized players, and got flustered thinking about Vote.
You think Zapman's blushing as he
so
jumps in?
Yeah, and he dropped the ball because he because he couldn't. He just couldn't do it.
My hands are so sweaty.
That's right. That's on the other side of me. No way. The highest pressure game, the highest pressure moment Zap's ever played in a storied career. That'll be a Gold Fury over to the Oni Warriors and the first real tangible lead for them as well. So the last few moments of this game haven't looked great for the Leviathans, Myth, whereas the early goings, not bad. Punished the dual lane of the Oni Warriors a couple times, but have not been able to keep that trend going.
Yeah, if the Leviathans kept to pressuring dual lane, maybe it would have continued, but instead they decided they wanted dominance on the other side of the map as well. And an overextension towards those back camps cost them pretty mightily. The Oni Warriors, though, on regroup, trying to catch out Shinto in mid, forced to use that ultimate defensively.
Uh-oh.
Doesn't exactly help him out, does it? Dardes credit for the kill this time around, and with Pyromancer still available, I think it could be an opportunity here for the Warriors.
You would think. They've got plenty of damage to get it done. Unfortunately for Shinto, another level deficit. It's not 5 or whatever it was in game 1.
Oh, we might get there still.
There's only 1 level down for now. But Dardes is on an absolute warpath. 4-0-2 on the ROM, and no signs of slowing down. Zapman would love to defend his red. Gets a stun on Akuvo Fred, but that's all this On Her's got to offer at this point. Nope. Use a Desert Fury, and does indeed drop the red buff, but has that now made Zapman susceptible? No, Vote, Neilma. They'll take the escape with their jungler.
Man, Zapman puts out a whole lot of damage, though, already. That kin size. Seen a good bit of work. Kubo Fred could be in some trouble. Wrong you. There's the combo.
There it is, and it pays off. Kubo
Hit all
Fred
3.
stunned and dropped. And Neilma on Vote. I'll take a stun on the other side of it as well. But all of this just to beckon Nika over to the left side of the map. Beautiful stun from Vote on the big damage from Ishtar. Now Haddock slowed.
Woo.
Big pull in from Shinto. Looks cooler than it really is effective, but does slow down the fight. The Leviathans get one, but lose one.
Yeah, if that pool doesn't hit literally all 4, I think Haddix might actually die there. So good peel
All right.
from Shinto. Not exactly, what you want from your mid laner. That's something you kind of ask Wrongyu to do generally, but Wrongyu's playing Artemis, so I think Shinto essentially
Hey,
has
Wrong,
to
you
be
hit
that
3
guy.
with the ult.
Yeah.
So,
And then he threw a trap into the middle of a pillar, so it didn't really get to do a whole lot. So
that pillar was so trapped.
yeah, he gives and he takes, and
Right.
this time Wrongyu takes from the Leviathans.
Yeah, you got there.
Yeah,
But 1 level ahead of Neilma. That 1 level lead could make all the difference.
If I'm Neil, that's actually living in my
All right,
head for real.
He caught back up. If you're not Neil. Neil is so cool under pressure. Are you cool under pressure, Myth?
Not as cool as Neil. And during the PK run, I got to watch
Yeah.
him take all 5 games. It was a 7-hour set,
Yeah.
man.
That's right. Neil is ice cold, especially in a game like this. This one important.
Shrapnel in his veins. This dude's a hand cannon.
That's not a good thing.
What? It worked really well for Iron Man.
All right. I mean,
That's why they call him that.
I'm not going to discuss the logistics of this. I would argue it's not a situation you want to be in to begin with, though.
Yeah, tell that to Tony.
I will. I'll let him know. Oh, wait. Zatman. That was bad by me, I'm sorry. Pyromancer pulled by the Oni Warriors. Haddix is close by. So is Wrong You. Surely the Oni Warriors favoring themselves in this fight, just not knowing where the rest of the Leviathans are. It's on left. The 4th death of the game for Zatman. It has been a real interesting fantasy points day in the league. Panda goes like 0-14.
Something like that.
Whoever has Panda is feeling sad.
I hope it's not me. I do not remember.
And Hindu's feeling sad about this one for the Leviathans. He's got all the Levi's. They're not looking great here in game 1 or game 2.
You know what? That's actually pretty good for me. Unless Panatom keeps doing stuff like this. Get out of there, Cuvo! That's too much damage!
It is too much damage, and the Scepter might just get it done. Panatom with the solo in the jungle. Surely slows down the Oni Warriors, but the Oni Warriors have also taken lopsided fights a couple of times. Unworried about what the Leviathans are doing. Zap just respawns. That means Vote's had free farm time, and Vote has now pulled 3 levels ahead. Gets double crit online. I think should feel just fine taking more fights with Zap if Zap chooses to go in.
And so far, if history's any indicator, Zapman will be leaping in on cooldown, regardless of how many enemies are there or how many allies aren't. So we'll see. 1-4 can turn to 1-5 real quick. The Leviathan's playing with aggression all the way across the map, it seems like. The Oni Warriors, though, I mean, we're starting to hit some critical mass with this draft.
Blink, Tusky,
Dash
now
into
what?
that.
From Wrong You. Dardes rolls forward, but has to get back out. Little damage from Shinto, not enough to finish off the kill, but Panatom hovering.
I need to rest.
We'll get Dardes over on the other side of the jungle. Speed buff. Would have loved to have been invaded, but you will get Mystic Rush out of Cubo Fred, who's able to pick up his own speed.
Yeah, I think the Warriors have really slowed down
They
here. Their team fight is still really strong. We're starting to hit those itemization power points where Double Hunter starts to feel really good. Double, nearly triple crit now for Vote. Dardes has the Odysseus bow, very close to those kin size. Even Neoma has ticked over to level 13, so access to that secondary relic. I'd like to see the Oni Warriors group up and force an engagement as 5. You need Nika there. That's your primary initiator. Tier 1 tower, pretty easy. Back up to a Primal Fury after. Might be nice.
Looks like that's exactly what the Oni Warriors are going for. They have pumped the brakes on the speed just a little bit as far as kills go, but not around the objectives. You know, we didn't see it in game 1, Myth, but you're starting to wonder about the turnaround potential of this Leviathans draft because they're in a very similar spot here in game 2.
I just have to think it's less. Panatom doesn't have the AoE that it took to literally 4-man the Oni Warriors in the previous game. And Shinto's playing Atlas, and he just hasn't exactly got the burst just yet either. What they have got is potentially a Pyro. Never mind.
No, they don't have that. Cubo Fred's got it. Oni Warriors taking simply everything from the Leviathans. Nika will go up, and the Anvil of Dawn will search for its target. Shinto is the one bullseyed. But use the beads to get out of the stun. Aegis used as well. Pretty heavy loss there from Shinto. Wildly unfortunate for the Leviathans, getting their Pyromancer stolen and nothing to show for it on the back end. And now maybe a dead mid laner as Vote, Nika,
Wow.
Dardes will add some damage and another kill.
Was Dardes weak before that? I wasn't looking at his HP, but if he wasn't, that was a very near turnaround from Shinto. Maybe I'm sleeping on the
Top
Atlas
player
damage.
Top player damage.
I mean, he's been poking pretty constantly. You know?
I think that was a pretty hefty chunk from Shinto. Shinto was ahead, but not that far ahead prior to that little fight. I think he melted down Dardes pretty heavily there.
Yeah, and now Dardes has got to think about that in the future. And the second you let fear creep into your heart, man.
Dardes is wiping his tears with dollar bills right now. He is so far ahead. He is 404,
He
level
is dashed
18.
in.
He's feeling fine. Gets double fearless by Haddix, but still has the ability to turn it around. Cubo Fred is all
Up, down.
alone. Up, down he goes, and down ultimately as Zapman has finished off that kill. Some snipes from Dardes means rampage. Zapman leaps away, but Nika on the chase. Could be looking for a bit more. Haddix stunned a few times, in fact. But it's Shinto back from base, supplying a bit of extra damage on the end of the fight.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like Haddix is going to be dying anytime soon, so long as he isn't legitimately tanking both Dardes and Vote. Hasn't happened just yet. Maybe catch out Neoma. Fearless, no good. Should be the disengage. Triple pull in. Spells the end of the engagement.
Shinto's
The
been
Oni
hitting
Warriors,
them.
he's done. Yeah, I mean, I'd argue the Warriors are kind of walking into him, if I'm being honest.
We've seen a lot of forward movement from Dardes in forward rolls.
I have not seen him press S and 3 at the same time. It hasn't happened. That's how you roll back.
Right. I don't think there's a reason for him to though. He is crushing it this
Yeah,
game.
5-0 and 4. No crusher though.
Yeah, sad for me in that bit. Really, it's honestly only Cubo Fred has really been held behind a bit at 0 and 4.
A bit at 0 and 4. That's
Yeah, but I say a bit because look, I mean he's equal in levels. I mean, yes, has been kept in check on big dives in like we just saw, but if his job is to just start the fight and then die, which his player damage numbers would indicate.
my man Cubo is looking like the judicial branch, how he's getting checked and balanced. I'm sorry for our European viewers.
They have checks and balances in other countries.
I don't know about that. Not what I've been reading. I get my news from E! Exclamation point.
That makes so much sense. Everything just makes so much sense. Now, Oni Warriors will finally use this objective burn on an objective, and they will get the Fire Giant. But Nilma, what has happened? He's been fully melted by the Leviathans, but the Leviathans in trade have now turned around a couple of kills. The duo lane of the Oni Warriors gone. Zapman picks up one as well.
The Leviathans keeping it interesting. These team fights are actually going their way when they're able to fight around Shinto. So long as Shinto is allowed to actually cast his damage, apply the passive with his auto attack, fully channel the ultimate, things are going all right. But we haven't seen it consistently. Probably because there is no like actual peeler. There's no real support on the Leviathans right now. It's kind of primarily up to Haddix to create that space, but when it's worked out, it's worked out, and taking 2 Fire Giants off the Oni Warriors may have effectively extended this game a fair bit. You still have decent siege potential because Dardes is elected to play a Hunter, so structures won't be able to stand for too long, and with Oni Fury spawning up very shortly, could split up the map, but we're still waiting on a respawn from Vote. I don't imagine Leviathan step up to Oni, but the pacing of today and just the general shenanigans that we've seen, I mean, maybe they do. Otherwise, I think they will likely defend on a tier 2.
I need a nap after a day like we've had. Plenty of fun, Smite, don't get me wrong. But it does wear you out. It does drain you a little bit. Lots of fighting. I can't
Chair
imagine.
1's having it rough today.
I mean, J-Mac and Gorg go crazy in their first cast.
Dude, J-Mac was panting when he got off his cast, dude. He was tired.
Yeah. Luckily, this has not been like a 60-kill barn burner of a game, but has been faster paced compared to some of the games we've seen. Honestly, like last weekend, we were getting a lot of 35-minute like average games.
40, 50.
Even on Thursday this week, when we had all 3 game sets, a lot of those were stretching long. Felt like that was the pace of game for a little while, and you can't glean way too much from some of the matches today, but this one, a bit more standard, more serious for the Oni Warriors on their seeding battle. They've played a very fast pace.
Panatom might line up against Nika very shortly. Gets the jump on him. Where are you going to go, Panny?
Nowhere. Back to base is the
Grayscale.
answer. He's got to think about it for another minute or so. Fantastic pick from the Oni Warriors. And a tier 2 tower under siege. Can also just rotate this pressure to left. There's a minion wave starting to work its way
Keep
up.
pushing.
But you also already have a minion wave here in mid. Might as well go for the Phoenix.
5 versus 4. Transformation from Neilma. This Phoenix will go down quick. The Leviathans have got to get in.
It's Haddix starting it off. Yeah, Vote's going to end it right there. Nika will keep it going, though. Dunks into the back line. Big stuns, though. It's Tusky doing work for the Leviathans. Have burnt away one more team member of the Oni Warriors. Close onto the Phoenix, though. Wall, but the double tap is a little bit late. Cubo Fred goes in, whiffs. It still buys space for the Phoenix to drop.
Steps into a trap. Could turn it around. Cubo Fred forced you to use those beads. That's it, though. No more to be had. The Leviathans
Thank God.
gonna let this one fizzle. Still cost you your Phoenix, though. The Oni Warriors have officially broken the base, and with plenty of time left for this Fire Giant to respawn, can head back, grab the Pyro, clear out your own jungle, get ward dominance around the Fire Giant pit itself. I don't think the Leviathans can really allow this Fire Giant to go down. I think this game is going to be decided in the next couple of minutes.
Could be. Especially the Oni Warriors keep the gas pedal pressed down. And look, I mean, we saw it in game 1. It's the style that Nika and Cubo Fred are able to play. This big anvil of Dawn to start it. Actually, a lot of the times it's been the Leviathans initiating. It's just the kind of second wind in the fight has looked good from the Oni Warriors. Rongyu has been relentless on the blink in and sending out Tusky. Now remember, when Rongyu finished Kin Size in game 1.
And Animosity.
And Animosity.
So big.
It's fine. It's average. There was a little spike from Rongyu and damage later on in that game.
Lots of yellow numbers. It's not the standard yellow number
It's
build.
a game-winning item pickup.
Kin size?
Plus Animosity.
No.
Yeah.
I tell you what, Dave.
Okay.
I'm not a stats man, and Gore's already clocked out for the day, but I am willing to bet that this year in Season 9...
Somebody pull a clip of Miff saying, I'm not a betting man.
I'm not a gambler, but I'm willing to bet that the combo of Kin
My
size
God.
and Animosity has not won a single game this year.
That is a standard E-News viewer
I
statement
am no
right there, Miff.
gambler, all right?
But
I
I
am willing
will
to
bet.
That's right.
That is amazing. Unbelievable from you.
It's not a gamble if you know you're right.
I think you probably are right. The Leviathans, they group up as 5, though. Again, they haven't shied away from scrapping with the Oni Warriors in this game. Why would they? They're only down 8,000 gold. But you need to take a stand somewhere. Phoenix Line didn't quite get it done. Fire Giant respawns. I highly doubt this one lives for another minute and a half.
It could.
But if the Leviathans apply enough pressure, would turn into an enhanced FG. Much more important for the Leviathans to defend that if they feel like this is their stand.
Dardez slowly starting to rejoin his team. Oni Warriors have shown no propensity to pulling the Fire Giant just yet. Instead, it's the Leviathans starting to posture themselves forward. Defensive and offensive wards still belong to the Oni Warriors. They've got great vision here, and starting off the fight with some poke onto Haddix. Great start.
Cubo Fred and Panatom, along with Nika, scrapping over in solo. Panatom has had to use his ult. Cubo Fred has as well. Neomod transforms, has Frenzy, has AoE coerce for the team. But up goes Nika. Where's the Anvil of Dawn? Here it is. It's on Shinto. The vote. The vote. Vote gets the FG, gets a kill. Oni Warriors now starting to roll a bit, but in goes Zapman, in goes Haddix. This fight not guaranteed. It's what we've seen time and time again. The Leviathans stick around. They fight around the Fire Giant. Panatom wins a 1v1, and it's all but a deicide for the Leviathans. Make it the deicide. The Leviathans get 5.
Zapman comes up massive, puts out so much damage with that ultimate. Space created by Haddix gives them that opportunity, and the Oni Warriors may have dedicated just a bit too much to confirming that objective for themselves. Had they extended the fight and just played around the map, Fire Minions would already start to move their way into the base of the Leviathans. Could have made it a bit easier for themselves instead.
Animosity, Kin
Plus
size.
Kin size. Oh, man.
Win condition.
No way my bet becomes false after this game, right?
What is you're just saying an outright win?
Kin size,
from the
Animosity
Leviathans. Winning a game,
has not won a game.
regardless of how good Rongyu does.
Regardless, yeah. I don't think
Right.
that the item combo has not won a game.
Right.
And I am still willing to say won't win a game. But it's getting a little close, isn't it?
There has got to be. No, because like a jungler surely is built like Kin size Animosity.
No. We're building Bumbas and Eye of the Jungle.
Wasn't Benevolence 5 stacked for like a week?
Oh, man.
And people were building that into Animosity,
Oh,
right?
I forgot about that. Yeah, it was like a week of just...
There had to have been.
No.
That would have been like Erlong Shen Osiris days too.
And you know there's like 14 people that are like furiously fact-checking me right now, too. Oh, this... I'm going to get off this cast, check Twitter if it's still up, knock on wood. And I'm going to have so many ants let me know I'm wrong. No, it's not
All
going to
right, do you want to amend your statement during a normal,
No.
non-benevolence?
I stand my ground. I'll die on any hill.
I know you will. I know you will, man. The Oni Warriors, though, despite losing the last fight, handedly, and all their Fire Giant buffs, still able to pull the
And the
Fury
experience
and
lead.
pick it up. Yeah, all around that. Yeah, well, it's only Neil now that's not level 20, so luckily for the Oni Warriors, the experience,
Neil's 9K experience down? Whoa.
that is nuts.
That's embarrassing.
Sad for the guy. The gold, though, still in just a fine spot for the Oni Warriors. Somebody's got to deal with, I can't believe I'm going to say this, somebody's got to deal with the 5 and 6 on her. But a lot of those deaths were in the laning
He's
phase.
just jumping in. What?
Well, since team fight time, Zap has only died a couple times. Uh-oh.
What? Zap?
All right. I think you said he's just jumping in as like a sign of respect. Like, oh my God, he's feeling himself. And then it quickly became,
You think I was giving him respect?
yeah, I thought it was like he's jumping in. Like,
Oh, like right there?
yeah.
No, that was.
So you were
I was
confused
incredulous.
You were confused by the decision making from the onset.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it changed from, man, he's confident, what a crazy guy, into wait.
He jumped in behind a tier 2 on
Right.
Phoenix when his team was backing.
Right. So maybe confused, but I'm misreading why you were confused by it.
And you know, if that's on me, my
No.
my tone was off.
Completely on me. I've had an off day just all day today. It's entirely my fault. But that's given the Oni Warriors an opening to clean up the mid lane Phoenix one more time. Minute and a half until the FG respawns, and it looks like won't be forcing the issue any further. Panatom is going to have to watch his speed buff go.
I don't know about that. Man's got Scepter. He could turn this around. He chose not to, though. He didn't want that speed buff.
And this is why you're hard to read, because you say something like that, but then 2 minutes ago you're surprised by Zapman jumping in.
Well, yeah.
So it would have been expected for Panatom to do it.
That's a speed buff, and he's a jungler. I'm saying if your speed buff goes down and you're alive, you did something wrong. Captain goes down with the ship, all right?
Yeah. I've learned a lot about you this individual game here, Myth.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Name everything about me.
Name all your thing.
That's right.
Your favorite color is pink?
It isn't.
Oh, I thought it was, actually.
That's top 3 for sure, though.
Knew it.
Yeah, it's gold.
You are so annoying.
What do you mean?
No chance gold is your favorite color.
Dude, it's literally my email.
Because no, I'm not going down this rabbit hole with you. We've got a close game here.
That's right.
We've got one more, maybe Leviathans turnaround from this being completely even. And they looked really good in that last Fire Giant team fight, but a lot of it was that man being alive in the back and just slamming damage. Got to imagine Nika, Anvil of Dawn, looking for the on her.
I gotta think the Oni Warriors want to slow down the fight, right? Because the team fight of the Leviathans is contingent on ultimates. Like if Shinto drops ultimate and Rongyu drops ultimate and they haven't immediately gotten rewards, that's like the entirety of your engagement.
Yeah.
So the Oni Warriors can play a timed game, and it's largely avoidable. It's not really easy to confirm an Atlas ultimate. It's not really easy to get a multi-man Tusky. Disengage should be the name of the game here for the Onis. I think just wait for the Leviathans to choose to engage.
Right.
Whether or not the Leviathans will make that decision, to be determined. But if they don't, they're going to have to reveal themselves to defend the base like this. That man has to contend with these fire minions. Now's an opportunity for the Warriors to look for something.
Yamaha jumps in. It's a stun onto Haddix. Wow, a lot of damage as well. That's just a couple
good
auto
wall.
attacks. Wall nearly perfect from Nika. The Haddix chunked down to about half. Will sustain up a little bit. That man rejoins his team, though. And so that was the opening. Oni Warriors took it, but unable to get a kill. Beads off of Panatom. Nika stun zap, so no follow-up damage from the on her.
Yikes.
And one beefy auto attack from Boat has sent Zapman back just a little bit, but watch this. It's Neoma on the transformation. Usually a go button. Haddix learns the hard way. Stun from Nika on the wall. Ultimate flies through.
He's
At some
done.
point from Shinto. And Neoma was just left alone. Again, the Leviathans in a commanding position.
Yeah, Haddix, great usage of
They
the
have
beads
no ults
there.
there.
No
Except
ults,
for
you're right.
Panatom.
And they've got easy setup for Panatom's ultimate. But the ability to actually do enhanced fire, I don't think the Leviathans have got that just yet. The Oni Warrior is still incredibly healthy. And great steal potential from Dardes alone. It's going to be risky. This is almost a true coin toss here.
Fire Giant down to half. Pull in onto Dardes. Haddix alone with the ADCs. His health bar shrinking by the minute. Zapman was in the FG pit all by his lonesome. We'll go up, down. Nika out from the pit. Still 20 seconds on Neil. Advantage remains for the Leviathans.
Fire Giant down to half. Nika has walked up to the pit, avoids the slow, but
Oh,
needs
no.
to create some space.
Oh no, the Oni Warriors. They won't get the FG, but maybe a chase after the fact. Haddix is so low. But wow, the Oni Warriors
Look at their
unable to chase it down. Good eyes. The mid lane Phoenix might just die
It's
to these
going
fire
down.
minions.
It's going
I don't think
down.
anyone's in range. Leviathans have lost half of the HP on the Titan. and their mid lane Phoenix again.
Oni Warriors have got to be getting desperate, though. They have not been able to find ground in any of the last couple of team fights. With the Titan as low as it is, could be some potential here for a backdoor attempt. It is likely that the Leviathans try and work through the tier 2s of the Warriors before they actually approach a Phoenix. If the Warriors can position properly on the map, wait for the Leviathans to reveal themselves on a lane, could be an opportunity to just walk through. You've got phenomenal shred, so long as Dardas and Vote can both get into the Titan pit here. Maybe an attempt. Even Nika and Cuvo Fred together, like, they could do it. It would take a little while. You need the other 3-man to stop some backs.
They just go up and over the wall.
No, they're looking for the team fight.
I know. They want to fight instead of looking for a backdoor. It's a backdoor to the team fight, I suppose. Kivo Fred has gone in. Panatom and Zapman decimated by the dive of the Oni Warriors. And the Oni Warriors finally with an initiation they're happy with. And for good reason. It's a kill turned around by Shinto. But it's probably a game end now from the Oni Warriors. Titan down to half. And a 2-0 Oni Warriors win after a big game 2.
Yeah, who knew? The Oni Warriors, all they needed was a nice flank and a double wall from Nika onto both the carries, and from there, very simple for them. Titans already down to half. Your work's been done for you. Congratulations, Oni Warriors. It's a 2-0.
And I do believe that solidifies them not 6th. So I think no matter what happens to the Oni Warriors throughout the phase, what happens to the Bolts throughout the phase, the Oni Warriors will avoid having to go up against a higher seed at Phase 3 playoffs. And a pretty good team win. Look, you know, the Oni Warriors, they came into today, I don't think needed this win, but really in a spot where a win was going to help them out as far as standings go. Build a similar composition in back-to-back games and make the dive work.
Yeah, I mean, the double hunter composition has been something that the Oni Warriors have been very apt to go towards for almost the entirety of the year.
Yep.
Only really started to fall off of that style of play when Fafnir was removed from the play field, but now that he's back, very clearly, I think Neilma has played it every single game since he's been back, so the Oni Warriors have found themselves something that they can keep iterating on, keep sharpening as we get closer to Worlds. Leviathans fans, don't feel too bad about this.
They're on a 2-set loss streak.
You're going to be all right, guys.
The Leviathans on a 2-set. Is everything all right in the Leviathans camp? I'm not sure.
Vamos?
Who knows what's going on over on the Leviathan side of things? No, they'll be okay. Oni Warriors feeling good, though, regardless. They'll snag the 2-0 win. That's it for Miff, and I will go back to the desk to break this one down.
Yeah, thank you so much. This one started off pretty well for the Oni Warriors once again. The Atlantis Leviathans, though, Charlie, did keep this game interesting. A couple of moments, a couple of good fire giant dances by the Leviathans, winning some team fights. But the very end of that game there, that wraparound at the end, really sealed the deal for the Oni Warriors, and you can see that these guys are all smiles and all happy finding themselves a win.
I honestly didn't like the call at first because I saw how weak the Titan was, and I was like, oh, this is sick. Nika and Cuva are going to go backdoor the Titan. And they sort of just came back, and they're like, we could just win the fight. And I was like, they've got EFG, are you sure? And it turns out, yeah, they could easily. A great wall from Nika, walling off the team, and then Cuva following up. And, of course, the snipes on point. I think the Oni Warriors probably confident in that draft, and I said it in Game 1. I'm going to say it one more time. Ooh. It's unfortunate that the Artemis didn't have more of a pop-off, because I like the build. I like the animosity Artemis. It just, it didn't hit.
You know, I will give you credit, though. You were right on 2 of the 3 guesses that you had there. You were calling for the Atlas mid.
Yep.
You got it. You got the Artemis support again.
And
only
the
thing that
Haddock
was missing,
solo, yeah.
Well, I mean,
yeah,
whatnot, but you were just a little off. Maybe if they had the Zungle, we could have
that
maybe
would have
seen
been
a
the game.
That would have been Game 3 right there. That would have been Game 3.
Yep. If that's Zapman on the Awelix in the Zungle, maybe we have a different game, but he was too scared. He had to go for the honor.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not the game that we had. It's the Oni Warriors winning out game number 2, and we got the solo laner Nika standing by with Dave for a post-game interview.
That's right. Nika and the rest of the Oni Warriors able to get a 2-0 win here over the Atlantis Leviathans. Improves your standings, I believe, now able to completely avoid 6th seed going into the Phase 3 playoffs. This was an important one for you guys to build up some momentum. A fun composition, though. I mean, you get to play the Thor a couple of times, get the Rune Forged. It's a heavy dive style of comp. Run it back in both games. Is this something you feel like you guys have been theory crafting a bit with recently? I know you have some experience with these types of comps in the past. Were you just feeling aggressive today?
I mean, the Thor I just will find played, and then I like spammed it in ranked, and I was like, I knew what kind of day today was gonna be, you know. So I was like, you know, I'll like have some fun myself, but you know, obviously like the game is mattered for us for seeding, so you know, still played seriously. So. Yeah.
It's like spearheaded fun. You had fun, but like in a
but try hard gameplay.
right, a fantastic way of looking at it. I assume you avoided tilt then from earlier on today. We brought up your tweet on stream. We avoided the game 3, so we got in without tilt. We were okay.
My day was ruined like just after that one game, like because it was such a long game, right? And Dragons refused to win. Like they could have, but they refused. And then it's like it doesn't matter what happens, right? Like when you're the team waiting for a set and it takes that long, I mean, it's just mentally you're gonna be a bit loose.
But you're able to step up and get the win here. Talk to me. Okay, so we were not devoid of strange picks in this set here, Nika. Wrong you, Artemis, support, animosity, kin size. Did that catch you guys a bit off guard?
Nah, that's kind of like a budget genetics performance from him. I'm not gonna lie. He should leave it to him.
Right.
I was a big fan of the Kumba. I could not play the lane seriously. If my camp was everyone, I was just laughing. Like the character is just a joke, but love seeing him. Fun.
Yeah, look, it was a lot of fun to watch you guys play, solidify your standings a bit in a good way to get towards the end of the phase for you guys. Thanks so much for your time. We'll go back to the desk to round out the day.
Yeah, thank you so much for that post-game interview there. And I think maybe kind of we can touch back on the standings. Obviously, we'll look at the standings a little bit later so we can get a much more concrete look at exactly what's going to break down for those. But Oni Warriors, if I'm not mistaken, still have the chance to maybe bump into 4th seed with their win today, getting the 2-0. They still have one more set to go for themselves. The Titans, who they could potentially overtake, also have one more. But I think if the Titans end up winning that one, it could make things a little bit complicated. There's all the plus, minus, and head-to-head action in there. But I do know that between the Warriors and the Titans, it was a 2-0 for both of those teams up against each other. So I think it all comes down then to the plus-minus, the game differential when it comes down to their standings. But good performance nonetheless. Dardes on the ROM was the one that caught me off guard. I completely had forgotten that ROM was being played in mid just because it felt so natural for Dardes.
And that's the strange thing, because Vote is already always on point with the Rama, right? So you just assume that's where it's going. But turns out they both are just built a little different with the snipes, man. They don't miss too much, and that's a scary thing to go up against, especially when you're not in the mindset to juke them out. You know, it's just one of those plays where they had the dive comp, they had Nika going up into the skies with the Thor, and then the cleanup. And it happened here a few times where you just assume you'll be living just fine, and then those snipes come in from Dardes, and you're going down. This was the wraparound play, and this is where I assumed they were going for the all-in to the Titan. I mean, we don't have a look, but the Titan was half health, and I thought maybe just the Thor and the Raven would be enough, but they didn't care too much about winning that way. They wanted to get the wipe.
Yeah, did not seem so. Just great overall play by the Oni Warriors jungle and solo to get that one started. Cubo does end up losing his life during that trade out, but they're able to make the DS side immediately after the Oni Warriors in 2 get to take down the Atlantis Leviathans and get themselves an extra win in their column and keep their standings boosted up just a little bit as we continue to move on through the day. So congrats to the Oni Warriors, congrats to Nika, and I guess maybe congrats to me as well, who's my fantasy solo laner, so I got some good points from Nika this time around, and maybe a celebration for all of us casters here today, Charlie, because the Atlantis Leviathans probably won't be winning Hindu Man this entire week for fantasy.
That would be ideal, and I wouldn't be surprised if somehow they found a way to get a bunch of points even through this game. Like, even though so many went negative and stuff like that, I wouldn't be surprised if Hindu still has stockpiled points from the way the set has gone in previous. So probably just has undisputed first anyways. But hey, you know, we can second's cool. There's always silver.
That's pretty much what we're all fighting for the fantasy for the casters fantasy is that second place though. But let's take a look at the schedule and the standings for today. We still have one more day of the regular season left to go. The last 3 SPL sets of season 9, not just phase 3 of all the season. From here on, it's playoffs, play-ins, and then world championship at the end of it. Tartarus Titans and Camelot Kings open up our day. Solar Scarabs, Oni Warriors still to duke it out, and then to close it all out, the Valhalla Valkyries and the Olympus Bolts. That will be our final triple header Sunday, at least for the regular season of play. Again, for the Titans and the Oni Warriors, we can take a look at the standings. Game doesn't necessarily, it's not like it matters a whole lot, but it does matter just a little bit because of that plus-minus, because of the head-to-heads. Oni Warriors jump out of 5th, keep themselves away from 6th, and have now bumped into that 4th spot. So I believe if both of those teams 2-0 tomorrow, the Titans and the Warriors, then this would be our final standings remaining through. If some 2-1s come in there, or one of those teams obviously loses and the other one wins, then we see those two kind of bump back, at least between those ones there. The Olympus Bolts, though, with their win earlier on into the week with the losses by the Valkyries, Bolts are able to secure themselves that number 6 spot. The Valkyries, though, definitely want to find a win this weekend. because this was the first opportunity for the Valks to jump out of that 8th place spot. They've been sitting 8th seed for Phase 1, Phase 2. This is that first real opportunity for them to maybe jump out of there. Now comes down to them being able to beat the Olympus Bolts play on field, and also, depending on maybe what the Scarabs' performance is, could even continue to see that one, that kind of trend, at least for now, Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's just what team doesn't want to be last place, right? So, I mean, if that's the mindset, then, hey, we got to see them both perform here tomorrow. And I think they've both been looking real solid, especially because the Valks really had that shot about jumping to 6, and the Bolts just ripped it away from them. But they still had the mindset, right? So they still do want to perform. And, we'll have to see what happens tomorrow. Last day of the phase, that's pretty scary.
Our final day of Phase 3's regular season, our final day of regular season for Season 9. You're not going to want to miss out on that. Tune in at 11 a.m. EST as we kick it all off. On behalf of myself, Charlie, Cast Destruction, everyone behind the scenes, thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.